What's up, everyone? Matt Nelson with Peachtree Rose Marketing here in San Antonio, Texas. And today we are getting into how you get cited in answer engines like ChatGPT. In 2026, search engine is now answer engine. And if your brand is not showing up or it doesn't exist in the form of a video, in the form of Reddit posts, citations, or on other platforms such as YouTube or LinkedIn, your brand doesn't exist according to ChatGPT. And that's how your competitors will end up winning. Using content marketing for the specific purpose of answer engine optimization. That is where the strategy lies these days. And what do I mean when I say answer engine optimization? I mean writing content off-site and on-site, similar to how you would do with search engine optimization, but for the purposes of LLMs or large language models like those used by OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. And when you think about it, there are some similarities, but there's also some differences. What we've seen historically is that things like backlink building from an old SEO perspective that used to work, we really deviated far away from that and focused a lot more on on-page search engine optimization or doing things within your control on your website to help your website rank better on traditional search engines such as Google or Bing. Now, with that, we realized a pivot early on, and that was simply that traditional backlink building, or when you would, pay somebody to help get you cited on, high quality authority backlinks or other pages that link to your website. Google really didn't weigh that as heavily for the algorithm to be able to rank your website better. So they really focused on high quality content that was on site. And that was really how your website was weighted more heavily, as well as a bunch of other factors and variables such as how long people stay on your website. Now, the problem with traditional search engine optimization is simply that if you think of the first page of Google or the first 10 organic rankings on any given keyword or keyword phrase in the traditional sense of SEO, all of that content lately has been a bunch of regurgitated fluff. And what I mean by that is not just AI fluff, not just people putting their search engine optimized blog article through ChatGPT before they throw it up on their website. What I mean is you see a lot of cannibalization of content. You'll see somebody who's new in the space who's like, hey, that website, my competitor is ranking #1 on Google for this activity near me. How do I rank better on Google for this particular industry keyword near me, right? And what you would see is everybody is doing the same thing and they're regurgitating each other's content and trying to just make it a little bit better. Whereas with answer engine optimization, and a lot of the reason why consumers are going more towards platforms such as ChatGPT and Gemini to get better answers is because it's crowdsourced information on steroids. Large language models like those used by OpenAI's ChatGPT or Google's Gemini can really quickly go through and parse information in near real time. They have a large library of content that they can actually parse through, as opposed to traditional search engines that have smaller silos of content that they can go off of. So when they're doing that, they're looking at things like Reddit posts, YouTube transcripts, titles, descriptions, LinkedIn articles, social media posts, Google reviews, all of these different sources. They're citing all of these sources in real time, and they're trying to aggregate a lot of that data as quickly as possible to give somebody more or less a crowdsourced answer through artificial intelligence. And that's the route we're headed. But you may be asking yourself, if you're a small business, how can I get cited on ChatGPT? How can I get my business to be the business that's actually being referenced in search when people are looking for particular phrases like, what's the best podcast studio in San Antonio, right? Obviously, Peachtree Rose Marketing, right? What I mean by that is when your consumer searches or your target audience is searching for something on ChatGPT, they'll typically ask a question like, I need to know the best hair care stylist near me, right? Or what is the best beauty salon in Helotes, Texas? Not only are they already a piping hot lead, but they're really ready to transact and they're really ready to engage with a business or a brand. Now, that's a huge opportunity as opposed to those who weren't quite warm leads who were looking on traditional search. Studies have shown that those looking on answer engines such as ChatGPT or Gemini are much more of a warm lead and ready to transact with any given business. But the problem is, if your business is not cited as one of the top resources or top trusted authorities in your particular business or industry, you may not get some of those hot leads coming into your business. So in order to get cited on ChatGPT, you've got to master answer engine optimization. Now, you can wonder, does that mean that I need to hire a team of blog article writers to scour across Reddit and LinkedIn articles and all this other stuff? Well, not necessarily. And one of the things that we've actually niched into here at Peachtree Rose Marketing is using video-based content such as this to show up on platforms like YouTube, a packaging platform where you can not only take advantage of YouTube thumbnails that compel people to actually click into your content, search engine and answer engine optimized titles, which are rich pieces of content that LLMs, large language models, and crawlers from AI chatbots love to crawl, but also on the search engine and answer engine optimized rich description content. And on YouTube, as an example packaging platform for video content, you've got up to 5,000 characters where you can actually lay up the type of text-based content that these AI crawlers actually parse through when they're feeding those answer engines. Also, just as importantly, every word that I'm saying is going to be created in an automatically generated transcript on YouTube that those same answer engine crawlers can pull data from, that they can actually use to pull content. So in my opinion, and the route we're headed with video-based content for answer engine optimization, YouTube is the packaging platform to do it. And that's why we've really niched into things like video podcasting or this type of content that you're seeing right now, is because you can use it as one particular channel. It's repurposed for your omni-channel marketing, whether or not it's feeding your email distro list, whether or not it's informing how you write your search engine and answer engine optimized blog articles on your website or other platforms like LinkedIn. But also because as a packaging platform on YouTube, when you've got the long form video content and you've got those search engine and answer engine optimized titles, descriptions, hashtags, and your transcript, you've got a bunch of gold that nobody's really taking advantage of, likely nobody in your particular industry. And that's where the opportunity lies in answer engine optimization and getting cited on platforms like ChatGPT. So when you're getting into answer engine optimization, what you really need to get used to is EAT, or EEAT, which is basically experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. And if you can write to inform AI of these types of things, and you can make sure that your content, your text-based content as well as your video content, is across multiple channels saying the same thing about your brand, business, or personality, that's when you win in terms of answer engine optimization. Think of it as a semantic layer of content. So every episode or every filming or every piece of video content where you've got unique titles, descriptions, hashtags, and transcripts, those are unique semantic layers that feed into your content library that is in real time feeding these large language models that are informing platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini which brands are the ones to trust. Here's the other thing. When we talk on camera, we provide nuance, tone, specific case studies like our work that we do here in San Antonio for local businesses. AI tools are now watching these types of videos to understand as an information gain or another semantic layer of content. New info that isn't just a rewrite of what's on Wikipedia. So the real lesson here is that videos are no longer just shared for views or watch time, which is a huge metric for things like YouTube and getting more impressions. It's actually trainable material that's informing these large language models like ChatGPT which brands to trust. What we found with Peachtree Rose Marketing is that traditional search engine becomes this sea of sameness. It becomes this AI-generated blogs that are flooding the internet, and Google's AI overview is just cannibalizing the clicks. So with that, we're looking at a multimodal pivot. And what that means is by creating video podcasts, we provide high information density to source these LLMs or large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini. that can't easily be replicated with simple text or blog-based content. What we saw when the consumerism of ChatGPT was broad was that in just a couple of years, the amount of text-based blog article content on the internet skyrocketed, which means there was a lot of regurgitated AI fluff. Now with that, you just see a lot of that cannibalization of content, and you see a lot of consumers actually flocking away from traditional search on platforms like Google and towards things like Google's Gemini or towards ChatGPT for their answers. And that's why it's so important, crucially important, to get cited on these platforms through answer engine optimization. So as a bonus, I did have to mention, because Apple missed the boat like YouTube and now Netflix and Spotify, they finally announced today on February 16th, the time of this recording, that Apple introduces a new video podcast experience on Apple Podcasts starting in the spring of 2026. So Apple Podcasts will enable HLS video podcasts with a best-in-class experience for creators and users. So today, Apple announced a transformative update coming to Apple Podcasts that hits this spring and that will bring advanced video podcast capabilities to the app. Now, I'm super excited about this at Podcast Studio SATX, Podcast Studio San Antonio, or Peachtree Rose Marketing. I'm super excited about this because of what we're going to be able to do for our existing clients and new clients in the video podcasting and video creation space to be able to help their brands, businesses, and personalities show up on platforms like Apple, YouTube, Spotify, and answer engines such as ChatGPT and Gemini. So if you're looking to get a little bit more information about how you can show up on platforms like Apple, YouTube, Spotify for your video podcast content or just your video content in general, give us a call at Peachtree Rose Marketing, and we'll be glad to walk you through it.